Blingerella. Mistreated by her stepsisters, Cindy stays at home in the kitchen, despairing of ever meeting a handsome footballer. Then her fairy godmother gives her all she needs to seduce footballing prodigy Darren Bumfluff at his 21st birthday party. But what will happen when the clock strikes midnight? Once was a rich man who took as his second wife the most proud and unpleasant woman ever known. She already had 2 daughters of her own who were vain and like her in every way, right down to the plastic surgery. The rich man also had a young daughter, Cindy, from his first marriage. Cindy was a creature of absolute goodness, who ate 5 pieces of fruit a day and always gave her change to charity collectors, which was surprising given that her own mother had hounded Cindy's father for money through the divorce courts after running off with the gym instructor. With the wedding over and the photos sold to Hurrah magazine, the stepmother's true colours began to show. She could not bear that her own daughters looked bad next to Cindy, even after their boob jobs. The stepmother took pleasure in making Cindy do the nastiest work of the house. Dressed in mismatched and ragged leisure wear, poor Cindy washed the dishes, scrubbed the floors and cleaned the bedrooms of the stepmother and her daughters. Cindy slept in a sorry attic conversion on a wretchedly thin mattress, while her stepsisters lived in fine rooms with wall-mounted TVs and magnificent beds and full-length mirrors so large that they could see themselves from head to foot as they admired their designer outfits. The poor girl dared not complain to her father, who would have scolded her because his wife ruled him entirely. When she had finished her housework, she would go to the kitchen and sit by the boiler for warmth, where she watched the soaps on a tiny black and white TV with only 5 channels. However, Cindy was still 100 times more beautiful than her sisters, although they were always dressed very expensively. One day, footballing prodigy Darren Bumfluff announced that he would be holding his 21st birthday at the exclusive Makiki's night spot, and that all celebrities would be invited. Cindy's stepsisters received invitations, for they had done a bit of presenting work, and the elder one had briefly dated Darren's dashing teammate Fabrizio Rohypnolio. Yeah, we'll go with that. They were delighted at the invitation, and they spent the whole day in town selecting the dresses, shoes and hair highlights that would snare them Bumfluff's attention. Cindy was forced to accompany them, carrying shopping bags, holding doors open, and listening all day long to their excited chatter. When they all arrived home with their outfits, the stepsister said to her, "Cindy, would you like to go to the birthday party?" "Alas," said she, "I fear that you are cruelly ripping the piss. How would I so much as get through the door of the exclusive Makiki's in this mismatched tracksuit?" "You're absolutely correct," they giggled. "The only thing you are fit for at the exclusive Makiki's is squirting soap onto people's hands in the lavatories." They ran upstairs to put on their outfits, laughing at their joke, and Cindy sat by the boiler in the kitchen and started to cry. Just then there was a puff of smoke from the boiler, and there stood Cindy's godmother, who was a fairy. Seeing Cindy all in tears, she asked what the matter was. "I wish I could go to Darren's birthday party at the trendy Makiki's nightclub," sniffed Cindy. "Well," said her godmother, "you shall. Run to the corner shop and bring me a carton of nicely spicely handmade pumpkin, carrot and mozzarella soup." Cindy went immediately to buy the soup and brought it back to her godmother without much change from a fiver. Her godmother struck the soup with her magic wand, and it was instantly turned into a fine stretch limousine gilded all over with gold and with a bucket of champagne inside it. The godmother then went to the garden, where she found a pigeon that was eating cigarette ends from the dustbin. She gave the pigeon a little tap with her wand, and at that moment it was turned into a driver, complete with peaked cap, white gloves, and the smartest uniform that eyes ever beheld. After this she said to Cindy, "Go to the cupboard and bring me a bag of sugar." Cindy did so, and her fairy godmother gave it a tap with her wand, turning it at once into a great big bag containing at least 20 grams of fairy dust. "Well," she said to Cindy, "now you are fit to go to the ball." "Oh yes," Cindy cried, "but must I go in these nasty rags?" The fairy then touched her with her wand, and at the same instant her mismatched tracksuit turned into an outfit of the most costly designer gear, all a-bling with diamonds and platinum. This done, the fairy gave Cindy a pair of glass chimney achoo slippers, the most beautiful in the whole world. Being thus dressed up, she got into the stretch limo, but her godmother warned her, above all things, not to stay past midnight. For if she stayed one moment longer, the limo would become pumpkin soup again, her driver a pigeon, her fairy dust a bag of sugar, and her outfit a mismatched trackie and a pair of flip-flops. She was noticed as soon as she arrived, and Darren Bumfluff, on being told that a girl of huge wag potential whom nobody knew had arrived, ran out to receive her. He gave her his hand as she alighted from the stretch limo, and led her past the bouncers into the nightclub. The exclusive Makiki's nightclub fell silent. Everyone stopped dancing, and the DJ stopped his record, so entranced were they all with the glamorous newcomer. Even aging football legend Terrace Endorsement couldn't help watching her, telling his wife that it was a long time since he had seen so beautiful a creature, which caused her to scowl furiously. All the wags were busy examining Cindy's clothes and bling, and wondering how she'd managed to jump the 5-year waiting list for the herpes handbag on her shoulder. Darren Bumfluff led her to his private table, and afterwards he took her to the dance floor, where she danced gracefully with him until he trod on one of the glass Jimmy Achoos, which cracked the toe slightly. Cindy then went and sat by her sisters, unrecognised, flattering them and slipping them her wrap of fairy dust several times, which pleased them greatly. Darren Bumfluff sought her out again and took her back to the dance floor, never ceasing his compliments and eventually placing his hand on her behind. All of this was so new to her and made her so giddy with happiness that she quite forgot what her godmother had told her. She thought it was no later than 11 when she heard the DJ announce that it was midnight and Darren Bumfluff was now 21. She jumped up and fled, as nimble as a crackhead with the police on his tail. Darren Bumfluff followed but could not catch her. Cindy lost one of her glass slippers in the rush, and Bumfluff stopped to pick it up. She ran towards the stretched limo and driver, only to see them change before her into a carton of pumpkin soup and a pigeon. At the same moment, her designer outfit and bling changed back into the mismatched tracksuit. A passing car ran over the carton of soup, causing it to explode all over her, just as Bumfluff appeared at the door with several girls following him. "Ugh!" screeched one of the girls. "That skanky bitch in the tracksuit has puked all over herself." "And there's a pigeon eating it," howled another. Cindy turned and ran. She ran and ran for hours until she reached home and her kitchen, where she sat in her nasty old clothes and watched the black and white TV until her sisters returned home from the ball. "You stayed such a long time," she said, rubbing her eyes and stretching as if she'd been asleep. "If you had been at the exclusive Makiki's nightclub," sneered one of the sisters, "you would not have been yawning. We made friends with the most sought-after girl there. Darren Bumfluff was all over her like a rash, but she preferred to hang out with us, and she gave us loads of fairy dust." "Really good fairy dust it was, too," said the other sister, "and still as high as a kite." "Who was this girl?" said Cindy. "No one knows, but the press nicknamed her Blingerella," said the first sister. She hurried away immediately when it struck 12, and although Darren chased after her, she was nowhere to be found. She left only a glass chimney achoo that he wouldn't put down for the rest of the evening, because he was in love with her. "Lucky bitch," said the other sister. "Probably anorexic, though." "And we saw some skanky girl puking all over herself with a pigeon eating it," said the first sister. "It was quite a night. Now, make us some tea." A few days later, Cindy heard that Darren Bumfluff had proclaimed that he would marry the girl who had left the glass Jimmy Achoo at the exclusive Makiki's nightclub. She was sitting by her boiler, wondering how she could approach the footballing prodigy, when she heard a knock at the door. She ran to open it, and there stood Darren Bumfluff himself. He looked earnestly at Cindy, and seemed to find her very attractive. Cindy said to him, "Let me try the glass Jimmy Achoo, sire, and see if it will fit me." "You what?" said Darren Bumfluff. "I am the beautiful lady from the exclusive Makiki's nightclub, sir," said Cindy. "The glass Jimmy Achoo will fit me better than it will fit any lady in the kingdom, sir, if it pleases you to let me try it." "It no longer exists," said Darren Bumfluff. "My pal Rohypnolio had a spot of bother with the bouncers, and I glassed one of them with it. Anyway, you're never that girl. although you do look a bit like the skanky girl I saw outside, all covered in puke, with a pigeon eating it. But then, what can I do for you, sir? Said Cindy. I wondered if your sisters were in, said Bumfluff. They gave me their numbers after that girl legged it, so I thought I'd avail myself. Rohypnolio said, I'm getting there with that name, said I should get over the mystery girl, and that's what I'm here to do. Are they upstairs? Darren, cooed a voice from upstairs, and Darren Bumfluff bolted past Cindy as fast as his legs could carry him. Cindy walked slowly back to the kitchen, where she sat down by the boiler and turned on the TV with only 5 channels. Perhaps I'll just ask for a free view box the next time, she thought. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe and press the wee bell notification. And a huge big thank you to all my subscribers and patrons. See you next week. Bye bye.